I'm Evelyn, and I'm a geoholic.
It's got to pick up here in a minute. Here we go.
Wait for the hook.
Gotta wait for the hook. Exactly. Oh my gosh, Joe. I don't know how we pulled this off, but we did. Welcome back, Geoholics. We are at episode 213. If you can believe that. 213.
I don't believe it, but we can move on.
And that voice for you listening and not seeing, or seeing and listening, is not producer Sean. It is, in fact, my good friend, Joe Cherry. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
100%. I'm so glad you were able to be here this evening. Sean, of course, is gallivanting. He's at an HR conference of all things. Sean at an HR conference, that just doesn't equate to me. But he's in Austin, Texas for a couple of days.
Love Austin.
Love Austin as well. What a great music town. Now my hero, Joe Rogan, is set up shop there. I can't wait to get out there and get to the mothership.
Gary Clark Jr., are you familiar with him?
Yes, we just used one of his songs in the last episode, as a matter of fact.
That was a test, and you passed.
Yes, big fan of Gary Clark Jr.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for being here. This is great. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
About me?
Yeah.
So my name's Joe. I'm a Leo. I am in the subsurface utility industry, utility engineering industry, rather. And I like volleyball. I like hanging out with my family. I like doing yard work, believe it or not. I don't know. What else?
Not in the summertime. Horrible here in the summertime.
Not in the summer. Nobody goes outside in the summer.
Dogs or cats?
I have one of each.
Okay, one of each.
And I like them equally. That's not true. That's not even true about
I was going to say, how could you? Yeah, right. Oh, man. All right. We got a lot to get to this evening. I'm going to move this along here. Again, Joe, thanks for being here. We'll get our guest here in just a few minutes, and we got to pay some bills, do some house cleaning, that type thing. Tell us about that opening number.
So that was Kid Rock, and the song was All Summer Long. Kid Rock was born, it's not Kid Rock, believe it or not. It's Robert James Ritchie, and he's an American musician, rapper, and songwriter known for his eclectic blend of rock, hip-hop, country music. Grew up in Michigan, of course. If you know Kid Rock, you know that about him. He began his music career in the early 90s, gaining attention for his energetic performances and unique sound. Beyond music, Kid Rock has also ventured into acting and philanthropy, supporting various causes, including veterans organizations, local communities in Detroit. His rebellious spirit and commitment to authenticity, Kid Rock continues to captivate audiences with his music and larger-than-life persona.
Indeed. I'm a fan. I'm a big Kid Rock fan.
Yeah, I like Kid Rock too.
I haven't ever seen him live.
Me neither.
I would like to.
Yeah, same.
Like, our paths just haven't crossed yet.
There's still hope. The day is young.
Yeah, and he's still young. Well, he's getting older, but
I mean, to us, he's young.
Exactly. He's about our age, probably.
Yeah, probably.
So we're young.
Yeah.
All right. We are, of course, in the Altera Central studio this evening. A little bit about Altera. Altera Central is the authorized premier Trimble dealer for survey, mapping, GIS, forensics, and marine equipment in Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and New Mexico. They have 8 offices and provide sales, rentals, repairs, and support for the full line of Trimble products: GPS, GNSS receivers, robotic total stations, scanners, Seiko accessories, mobile mapping systems, used equipment and field supplies, including Juniper receivers and tabloids. The Juniper guys are awesome, and they make a great product. LaserTech True Pulse rangefinders or finders, and micro drone UAVs. They also offer field supplies and can deliver them right to your job site. If you can imagine that, wouldn't that be convenient?
That would be.
All backed by a service department with one of the fastest turnarounds in the nation. You can find out more by simply going to alteracentral.com. That is ALLTERRACENTRAL.com. Allcentral.com.
Nice.
Love those guys.
You're good at that.
Love those guys. Next up, we have the Geomax weekly service pro tip. To find out more about Geomax, simply go to geomax-positioning.com. And my good friend Joe Cherry is going to give us this week's service pro tip. What do you got there, Joe?
All right. Quote, there is only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else.
That really puts things into perspective.
Yeah, it does. Sam Walton.
Sam Walton.
Yeah.
I think he has perfected that, basically. Wouldn't you say?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I can't.
He's done pretty well for himself.
I would say so. Yes.
Yes. All right, moving along. We have our GeoSearch job of the week. Find out more about GeoSearch by simply going to geosearch.com. Are you looking to hire top talent in the geospatial industry? Do yourself a favor and contact our good friends at GeoSearch. As a full-service recruiting company, they specialize in connecting exceptional professionals with opportunities in GIS, GPS, photogrammetry, remote sensing, engineering, and beyond. Their clientele ranges from small aerial photo and surveying firms to large-scale geospatial companies, GIS software firms, transportation giants, and civil engineering enterprises. No matter the size or the sector, they're there to fulfill your staffing needs. Talent from technical roles to sales, management, or even C-level positions, GeoSearch has you covered with services like ad postings, retained and contingency search, and temporary staffing. They tailor their approach to suit your requirements. Contact GeoSearch today to find out or to discuss your hiring needs and to let them guide you toward the recruiting solution that's perfect for you. Again, that's geosearch.com. Okay, time to bring our guest in here. A little bit about him. First of all, we have Matt Aston with us. And a little about him. He's born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. He attended University of Toledo. Go.
Toledo Go. What?
What are they?
Oh, geez. All I think of it with Toledo is the Mud Hens, but it's not.
Whoa, the Go Rockets.
Oh, that's right.
Hobbies include quality family time, golf, Ohio State University football, and he's actually building a house in Florida as we speak. Sounds like a retirement opportunity. Actually, be there in a few weeks for the Toba Users Conference. Kind of looking forward to that getaway. His current job is founder and president, CEO of GPRS, which we're going to learn everything about here in a minute. A couple career highlights include starting GPRS as a one-person company. And that was in the fall of 2001, and it has grown into nearly 800 people today with a presence in 54 cities throughout the United States. That is an amazing story, and I can't wait to hear it. As far as passions go, his faith, he's very focused on fitness. In the last 7 to 8 years, he's made great friends through F3. F3 is fitness, fellowship, and faith. I love that. Matt, welcome to the Geoholics. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Joe. I'm really looking forward to getting to spend some time with you guys tonight and sharing the story.
Well, you say that now. Hopefully this goes well. So before we get going, we always start out the show with the Trimble Geospatial Icebreaker. To find out more about Trimble Geospatial, simply go to geospatial.trimble.com. This week's icebreaker is as follows. So Matt, what is a skill or hobby you've always wanted to learn but haven't had the chance to yet?
Every year I say I'm going to get better at golf, and I've learned some of the skill, but I haven't got to the point where I'm anywhere close to goal yet. That's probably the cheating answer a little bit. I would say one thing that it would be fun is I have no idea how to play any musical instrument.
Mm-hmm.
None. And I do like music. I enjoy it, but I am not
Just
gifted when it comes to it at all. Right.
Yeah, I'm with you right there.
It'd be cool to say, I can play guitar, but
I'm
probably not going to happen.
Exact same boat. I tell people all the time, I was Eddie Van Halen in a past life.
Right.
Or maybe in my next life, I'll be, who knows,
Gary
Clark Jr. Maybe. That'd be a little hard to pull off, but you never know. How about you, Joe? Does anything come to mind?
Remind me of the question.
What is a skill or hobby you've always wanted to learn but haven't had the chance to yet?
Ice skating.
Ice skating.
Yeah, I've never gone anywhere near it, but I've often, for some reason, fantasized that I would be good at it if I did.
That's an interesting fantasy, first and foremost. Ice skating, though, I feel like I've never done it. I don't think. Not that I can remember. But man, just being on a blade, like I feel like my ankles, they're weak enough as it is, I think, that it'll just go like they'd be 90 degrees.
Yeah,
not be on stumps.
It's probably my opportunity is now gone, but
no. Well, you can do instead, though, I have a great idea. Curling.
Oh, right.
Curling. You don't need skates. You don't need skates.
How do you? Yeah, we could have a whole podcast about
Yes,
curling.
we can.
I
Yes,
have
we can.
so many questions.
I will bring you to the curling club and I will show you everything you need to know about curling in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, Matt, let's get to know you a little better. Talk about growing up in the Midwest. How do you think that upbringing, I'm from the Midwest as well. I'm a big fan of growing up and being from the Midwest. How do you think that shaped who you are today?
It's a little different. I think that we have a little bit of a persona here where there's some toughness, some tenacity that is innate within people who are from this area, and it probably helps to persevere through some hardship and adversity that we face along the way. Where some people may back out a little early, we will keep going and try to push through, almost to a fault in some cases. But I'd say that's one of the characteristics that I've learned from people around me.
I agree 100%. And there is, without a doubt, something to be said about the Midwest work ethic. It's legit. Like even living here in Arizona, whenever I get an opportunity to hire somebody from the Midwest, I try to jump on it just because I know they're going to be a solid work ethic, great attitude, and just reliable.
Yeah. I'm not from the Midwest, but I can't argue with that because I've experienced that as well.
Yep, for sure. So being an Ohio State fan, a lot of Ohio State fans get a bad rap. Like they can just be like jerks, and it's probably because they win all the time. There's a sense of arrogance there or whatever. I don't know. I may or may not have experienced in my lifetime, but it doesn't matter. Talk about being an Ohio State Buckeye fan.
So I will say I think some of the criticism is probably fair. Some of what you just highlighted, but I was telling my sons a few years ago. We had lost 2 games in the season, and we were pretty disappointed in a 2-loss season. And so I just said to my boys, Trevor and Travis, "Hey, how blessed are we, really, that we lose 2 games."
Yeah.
And we call that a disappointing season. So
one of them was maybe to Michigan. Was one of them to Michigan? Be honest.
We don't even talk about it.
That's awesome.
We don't even talk about it. They won their 3.
Just 2 random
that
games.
streak can stop now.
That's true. That's great.
We were a few years ago. Ohio State lost to Michigan State. I think it was 2015, and it was the first loss of the season, and it wrecked my day. It wrecked my weekend, and I said, "All right, this is the last time. This is the last time that I'm going to let a game that I have no control over, I don't play in. These are 18 to 22-year-old kids that I don't even know, and this is the last time that I'm ever going to let the outcome of a game like this affect my mood the next day." So,
was that the last time?
You'd have to ask my wife. She'd be better.
I find it hard to believe,
but
that's the correct answer.
I think
by the
I've
way.
done.
Yeah.
I don't think I've done. I would say I've done markedly better, but I don't know about entirely.
Fair enough. It's a work in progress. I love that you in your bio. For those of you that don't know, whenever we have a guest, we ask some questions that we build the show around, basically. And one of the things that Matt mentioned in his bio is the importance of faith in his life, right? Which I absolutely 100% respect. And the significance of a particular Bible verse, and that verse is 1 Peter 2:21, and the verse is as follows. "To this you were called, as Christ suffered for you, to be an example that you should follow in his steps." Why does that verse resonate with you?
Yeah, so I was raised in a Christian home, and that's played a significant part in my life, really, since I was capable of making that decision. But I went to a Christian school, K through 12. All my friends were, that's kind of the community that I was immersed in. And so I didn't really see any difference. And, when I did, grow into adulthood and start being responsible for my own decisions, I never really recognized the significance of that decision that I had made until my daughter was born in July of 2001. And yeah, that was the point where, oh my gosh, now I'm responsible for this child, this baby. And I really need to work on, being an example, for my daughter, Ashley. And, then you think about, Christ and what he did for us. I'd say the ultimate act of love, the ultimate act of sacrifice. And while we can never live up to that standard, certainly that's a tremendous goal to strive for, to follow in his example, to follow in the steps that he laid out for us.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely.
Agreed. An ideal is not something you're ever going to fully, live up to, right? So, but it's always good to reach for it.
It's not even expected.
Right. Nope.
No. Okay, let's learn all we can about GPRS. This sounds like what has to be an amazing story. I mean, starting out as a one-person idea, which I'm assuming that one person was you, and growing it to, plus or minus 800 people. I mean, talk about that path. How did that happen?
The first thing I'll say, I questioned the long-term viability of GPRS every single day for the first 5 years or so of the business. It wasn't this overnight thing where we just consistently grew out of the gate. There was a real struggle. I mean, at the beginning, I would go to try to create some awareness, where I would go to contractors' offices or out to job sites, and I would tell them that I have this ground penetrating radar equipment. And one of the common responses was, "Hey, get out of here, kid. We're not looking for buried treasure here. We're building a building." And I said, "No, you don't understand. I'm using this to help find utilities, or I'm using this within concrete to identify the placement of reinforcing steel or the presence of electrical conduits where you might be saw cutting." And it took a while to build up the awareness and get people to understand the value proposition that I was trying to offer with this service. But one of the things I think that we were blessed by is having started this business in Toledo. Toledo's in the middle of a huge population center. While not a big city itself, we're within 3 or 4 hours drive of Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Chicago, Detroit. And so
center of the universe, basically.
Right in Toledo, I could go out into some of these other cities to find some business. And I think if I started this in, say, Chicago, there would have been so much work in that one area that I may not have had to look in those other markets. But looking into those other markets, it forced me to think about putting someone there. And that's what really started the growth story of GPRS. We said, why stop in the Great Lakes region? We could do this throughout the entire country.
Sure. I mean, that's unbelievable. So, how did you even get into the utility locating business?
So it started out, our focus was really more on the concrete side of the business, with really one primary application in mind, and that was to help contractors avoid electrical conduit when they're saw cutting or core drilling in a concrete slab. My dad, when I was 3 years old in 1980, he started a concrete cutting company called Ohio Concrete Sawing and Drilling, and it grew. And they probably had at its peak maybe 200 trucks throughout Ohio, Michigan, and Florida. I would help on those jobs when I was in high school, when I was in college. And it seemed inevitable that if there was a trench laid out in a slab, it was just a matter of time before they were going to cut through something that they did not know was there, whether it be electrical, whether it be plumbing. Yeah. And I saw this advertisement in this magazine, for ground penetrating radar. And that's one of the applications that it identified, was to find electrical services within a concrete slab. And I thought, what, I think, I could probably make a business out of this.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've had a couple GPR folks on previously, and when you look at like it's an art, right? Like to use that equipment and be able to read like that screen and kind of like what's being shown on there? Like, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, how do you become good at that?
with some real practice. And I was not good out of the gate. I struggled out of the gate. My first job was at a parking garage in Cleveland where they wanted to drill 3 holes. In the parking garage was post-tension concrete, and they hit a post-tension cable on each one of the 3 holes that they drilled. And
wow.
My third job was at a power plant, and they wanted to drill one large diameter core through a 15-inch concrete slab. And I positioned them directly over electrical conduit. And my confidence was shot. I mean, it was gone.
Yeah.
I thought, what, how am I ever going to make this go? But kind of going back to that, that Midwest upbringing, there's facing some adversity, and I just went out to job sites where my dad's company was going to be, cutting or drilling. And I forced myself to learn, hey, this is how, I understood, rebar placement. I understood how electrical is run, but really had to get the sense of how to look at the data on the screen and map it accurately to the surface where the cutting or drilling is going to take place. And it took some practice, but I got to the point where I got really good at it.
So you got really good at it. And I assume now with, fast forward to today where you've got, hundreds of employees and technicians that use this, all to varying degrees of skill, I would assume. Yeah. What made you and what makes them your best technicians? What separates them other than the obvious answer of experience? But what is it? If you could put one, nobody can ever put one thing on it, but if you could, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say it's our training process. We developed a process a few years ago where we took a few of our very best people out of the field. And this is a hard thing to do when you take your best people out of the field, but then they've got this this tremendous skill set, this tremendous wealth of experience in their mind, and so we get them to teach the new people, the new project managers that come into our business. How to do this, how to perform this service at an elite level. And we call this process SIM. It's subsurface investigation methodology. And it's unique to GPRS, but our business is called GPRS, ground penetrating radar systems, but that really sells short the service that we provide. We integrate multiple technologies to get to the results the ultimate results that we provide for our customers.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm looking at your website, which is awesome, by the way. And hold on a second. I want to mention that website, as a matter of fact. Is it gp-radar.com?
Yeah, gp-radar.com or gprsinc.com. They'll both get you there. The exact same.
Okay, gotcha. But you guys do a lot of different things. And you brought it up. So when you say, the end result or the goal or the objective, whatever, by taking all these different technologies and different methods you have for mapping utilities, what is the end result? Like where does this go, all this information?
So it really depends on what the customer wants. I mean, that's one of the questions that we're going to ask right out of the gate is, hey, what are you looking to do? Okay, we're going to excavate. All we really care about is paint on the ground. We want to know where the utilities are before we start digging. So we'll do that. But as we do that, we're also, we believe there's value in the data. And we can tell a little bit more about this later on. But a few years ago, we were in this kind of strategy session. What can we do to bring more value to our customer base? And think about, okay, we've got a few hundred people in the field. They're on 1 or 2 job sites a day. Getting this data that's critical. What if we were to build like an underground infrastructure map? Like what if we created like a Google Maps for underground infrastructure?
Yep.
And not just for public, but what about if we did this for private campuses? What if we did this for hospitals or universities? Yep. Or manufacturing centers, entertainment venues, these places that we show up to work repeatedly. What if a lot of these buildings are 100 or these campuses are 100 years old or older. They don't have good, accurate records of what their underground infrastructure looks like. So
Yep.
let's create it for them.
So that's the value, right?
Hey, Geoholics, let's talk about GeoSearch, one of our longtime friends of the program. GeoSearch is a personnel recruitment firm specializing in the geospatial sciences and technologies. They offer a wide range of cost-effective and efficient recruitment products and services around the country.
They are technical recruiters who specialize in GIS jobs, photogrammetry jobs, remote sensing jobs, surveying jobs, engineering jobs, and software development jobs.
All the good ones.
Anything related to geospatial and the function it plays in today's marketplace. They recruit technical, management, sales, and marketing professionals.
GeoSearch is the leading geospatial career site. They have been the premier bridge between geospatial employers and geospatial job seekers since they began their operations in October 1989.
They serve all industry segments that develop, apply, or use geospatial technologies. Their highly targeted candidate database and long history in the geospatial sciences allows immediate access to qualified professionals.
Put your career in high gear by posting your resume with GeoSearch. If you're looking for GIS jobs, you can begin by visiting their job seekers page at geosearch.com.
How do you sell that to your clients? I mean, obviously, I see tremendous value in that. I mean, Sue, tremendous value in that, but not everybody gets it, Nope. How do you, you probably spend a lot of your time educating your clients, I'm assuming.
So I would say not yet. And this is a relatively new, we just rolled out, this program is called Sitemap. And we just rolled it out in February.
Oh, wow.
So like 3 months. But, so over the last 20 years, what have we done? We have gotten to the point where we are providing that elite level service. Last year, we did about 120,000 jobs across the U.S. And we had a reported incident rate where we were wrong on 0.13% of those jobs. So
oh my
156.
Gosh. That's crazy.
Out of 120,000.
What do you attribute that to? That success rate?
It's that SIM process, that subsurface investigation methodology, and integrating those technologies. So ground penetrating radar along with the electromagnetic systems that a lot of the state one call agencies use. Then we integrate video pipe inspection. We integrate SONs. We integrate leak detection services. We integrate 3D laser scanning. So if they want a BIM model of our findings, underground, layered in with surface features, we can provide that with integrating laser scanning with the ground penetrating radar. Even for concrete applications, we did a job on a big retrofit of a 26-story building. They started with the first 13 floors, where we marked out the entire post-tensioning system, came in, laser scanned everything, put it in their BIM model, for them. Now all the trades, as they go to lay out walls, they know where all the post-tensioning systems are in the building, and avoid some of those change orders that would come up down the road when we're looking to place for placement of mechanical systems or placement of electrical systems. So they know that they're not putting them on the top of a group of banded post-tension cables.
He's speaking language, Joe.
Yep, I know. So lead to this, right? So when you're, it sounds like GPR, and I don't actually know a lot about it, frankly. Even though I'm in the SUE industry, being in Arizona, it's always been a challenge with the soils when you're looking for just utilities under the ground.
100%.
Yeah, so that's actually what I was going to ask you is, what is your experience with that? And sounds like you do, and so maybe you've already answered my question. You implement other utility locating strategies and technologies. You're not relying solely on GPR.
No, we did for the first few years, and that was one of the learning experiences that we had in the first few years is we'd wind up having to walk away from some jobs because we knew we just weren't bringing the value that was worth charging the customer for the services, that the value that we were delivering. So we looked into, hey, how can we get better at this? What can we do? And not having background in utility locating, not having background in ground penetrating radar, we had to do some research, and we got creative and talked to other people. And that's when we started looking at other technologies that we could integrate. And that's made just a tremendous difference in the level of service that we're able to provide.
Gotcha.
Radio detection and stuff like that, right? The standard, like you mentioned, the one call technologies.
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually we switched from radio detection a few years ago over to Vivac.
Oh yeah.
I
use radio detection as sort of a like a Xerox, I don't mean it as the brand name.
Yeah. I do the same thing. I still call it radio detection.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Geophysical prospecting equipment.
Oh, there you go.
Or something like that.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I love it. I've been doing it for 25 years.
So I'm a professional surveyor by trade. Yeah, I've been doing that for 30 plus years. And whenever, I talk to, folks like yourself, anybody who's doing any kind of mapping, I always ask, is there a survey component to it? Like how accurate, I guess, is the mapping? I mean, what can you certify to, I guess?
Yeah. So the first thing we'll do, if you look through our website, the first thing we'll do is we will disclaim survey accuracy. There's oftentimes that will be held to a standard where, hey, we need survey accuracy, or we need you to tie into state plane coordinate system. Yep. Well, the first thing we're going to do is say, hey, we're going to partner with the survey company to do this for you, because that's out of our expertise.
Yeah.
The level of service that we're providing is certainly below survey grade. I think the accuracy, I would say when we're marking a utility, I would say we're plus or minus an inch or two probably to the center of the target.
Yep.
Laterally, and then the depth, I would say is probably more like 15-20%.
Yeah.
But we are in no position to claim survey accuracy. We never do, and when that need comes up, we're gonna go to one of the survey groups that we work with.
Perfect. That was a fantastic answer.
That was the right answer.
Yeah.
Right.
Joe, you guys have surveyors in house, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. Yeah.
Yep, that works out well. Good for both of you. That's great. So like GPR, educate me, educate our listeners that don't know how it works. How deep can it, locate utilities or structural items or whatever?
I'll just answer for Matt. It depends.
It all depends. Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, well, like you mentioned, the soil, right?
Yeah, and lots of other things, but I'm kidding, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so yeah, the principle behind it sends an electromagnetic pulse from an antenna, and it reacts based on changes in the electrical properties of materials that it encounters. So two very different applications. I talked about concrete a bit, where you've got a very homogeneous material. And then when you see something like steel, a rebar, or a post-tension cable within that homogeneous material, it kind of jumps off the screen. It's very easy for us to see. It's also, we're talking about a finite depth of a concrete slab. Utilities, I would say it's a little more difficult, because there can always be something deeper, and our system doesn't say, hey, your effectiveness is to 5 feet 3 inches on this site. We have to use some discernment, I would say, and some ground truthing as to what the effectiveness is on any given site that we're at. But Joe mentioned Arizona, the caliche soils out there, or in Houston or New Orleans, where you've got a lot of that heavy, wet clay. It's not going to be nearly as effective as it is up and down the sandy East Coast. In Florida, if it's dry, we may be able to see, with a 350 megahertz antenna, we may be able to see 11, 12 feet below the surface. Where in Arizona, we might be stuck at 3 or 4 feet below the surface.
Interesting. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So I worked with Joe for a short time at Cobb Finley, and I learned enough about Sue during that short time to know there's different quality levels, like what is it, A, B, C, and D? Correct, Matt? Do you provide services for those different quality levels? Is that an accurate question? I don't know.
Well, that would probably be if you partner with a surveyor, right? And you're working on a project that requires that, then you could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't do, quality level A is where you actually expose the pipe. And oftentimes what will be required for that is a shovel, but more commonly what we see is a hydrovac system.
The vac trucks.
And that is not a business. Well, I'm sorry, Joe, what was that?
I just said agreed. Yes. Vacuum.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's not a business that we're involved with at all. We do have, again, like a surveyor or a concrete cutter. That's something that if we need to do that, then we'll partner with another company that is the core of their business. That's what they're experts in, and we'll do that then. So we're working to a quality level B where we find the utility, we'll mark the utility. We don't say this is absolutely electric. We can't tell that by looking at the reaction on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some action you can take. I would say some deductive reasoning where we follow that reaction, and if it repeats itself and it goes to a transformer, hey, this is highly likely that this is electrical. If this goes to the gas meter, we know that this is highly likely a gas line. If it goes to a manhole cover, and we see, whatever's labeled on that manhole cover, then we use some of that deductive reasoning to give more clarity around what the utility is. But just looking at the screen, there's no way we can say, hey, this is a 8-inch ductile iron steam line. That's not going to happen from looking at the data on it.
Yeah, you got to be careful about that because there's certain liability things you want to shy away from.
It's all, and it's
serious business you guys are in.
And it'll say it right in the standard for SUE. The new SUE standard that you alluded to is 3822, and we won't get into the weeds on it, but it does mention things like, even if you're using electronically locating things with, the transmitter and the receiver, it's still dependent upon the interpretation. It's all an interpretation. And so nothing's more interpretive than a GPR unit.
I can beg to differ. The Bible.
That's all right. Fair enough. You got me.
Oh man, that's awesome. So I want to circle back to the site map thing. This sounds like it's something that's really exciting for you guys. Is this a proprietary application, or is this talk more about it? I'm very curious.
Yeah, we've been developing it for a few years, and we've got it to the point now where I would say it's never going to be worse than what it is today. This is something that we've learned a few lessons in building a software program, but it's something that we want to continue to develop, and we think that it's a real game changer. We were in a senior leadership strategy session a few years ago. Boy, try saying that one a few times fast.
Cool.
Senior leadership strategy session.
I give up.
And one of the questions that we asked was, hey, what are our customers going to want from us in 2030? What's our business going to look like then? And what if we could give that to them now or in 2 years? And we thought, okay, with some of the rise of augmented reality and the rise of being able to build these data files, what could we do? And so we just kind of imagined this, what would ultimately become sitemap. One of the reasons that we exist today is because there's tremendous risk whenever a bucket is put into the ground. I mean, with the amount of infrastructure that we have underground, especially in these major population centers, if you're going to dig, there's going to be a utility. I mean, that's really the way, the likelihood. And so we look at the campuses that we work at repeatedly. I mean, there's some campuses that we're at. We have a few campuses where we have people embedded there. They're just contract employees, and they're there every single day. And okay, what can we do to create more value? They clearly do not have good records of what infrastructure looks like on their campus. So what if we built it for them? And then there's a platform that they could log into. They could see everything that we've ever collected for them, and show if they just want to see the electric, they can shut off the other layers and just look at electric. If they want to see everything, they can see everything. But in real time, they can view everything we've ever done for them, and then integrating some of those other technologies. Like, hey, we did a leak survey at this campus, and here's where the leaks were a couple of years ago. And now if we do it again, what do those leaks look like? Are they back, or are there leaks in a new spot? And being able to have this data to help manage facilities across the country, we think this is a real game changer and to have all of it consolidated in one place, we think it's a real game changer for the industry as a whole.
Definitely. So it sounds like it's like a GIS application of a sort, right?
I would say it definitely falls short of GIS.
Okay.
I don't think, for the purposes of what we're creating, I don't think they need something as heavy or as detailed as GIS. They want that kind of bird's eye 30,000 foot view, maybe call it 10,000 foot view of, hey, this is my campus. These where my utility networks are. And I'm able now to get a good handle on accuracy. And one of the things that we see repeatedly is, I don't think there's ever any such thing as an as-built. I would say there are as-intendeds, but
always a touchy subject. Always.
Yeah, also a new standard, actually.
It's at 75. Yep.
So creating a digital twin for new construction on utilities.
No. It's a new standard within the ASE put out, in conjunction with the 3822, which is the SUE standard. They put out 7522, which is an as-built standard. It's just tightening up what's required for as-builts to hopefully solve this problem that you just alluded to.
Yep.
For the last 150,000 years.
Yep.
It's an enormous problem. We see it all the time.
Massive, huge. Yep. Yeah.
And the expense and the safety risk and the lost production, the downtime to the facilities. I mean, it's a huge problem. So that's one of the things that we're trying to create. Even if let's say you go to any big university and we walk into the facilities engineer office, they're going to have stacks of 24 by 36 paper documents that are 50 years old. They're not consolidated. They're not accurate. And that's what they're reliant on. They're also reliant on the guy who's been on that campus for 25 years. And he knows what the underground infrastructure is, but it's all in his brain.
Yep.
And there's going to be a day soon where it's his last day on campus. That guy's going to retire at some point, and all that knowledge goes away with him.
Yep.
And we're trying to solve that. That's really, I would say, the problem that Sitemap is trying to solve. So bringing all of the data together in one place to avoid some of these problems that we see repeatedly.
Yeah, I mean, I see tremendous value there for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with the company 4M Analytics. Have you heard of these guys?
Yeah.
So we had those guys on the show. Gosh, I don't even know when it was. It was a few months back, but it was really interesting what they were doing. It sounds like you're kind of doing the same thing, but you're focused more on like campuses, hospitals, that type thing. Like they're doing like state by state type.
They do have a similar dream. More as it comes to public right away, though, as opposed to private campuses.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's a great idea. My understanding is they're using a lot of historical satellite imagery to kind of stitch together their product.
Yeah, their methodology is quite different than obviously getting boots on the ground GPR and all that, like you guys. But it's the same overall concept of capturing whatever information it is they're able to provide. Yep. For their immediate client, capture that for all time so it can be referenced over and over and over.
Yeah, and it's like they're utilizing like artificial intelligence to scrape the internet basically for these records. And it is a massive, massive undertaking, no doubt. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, it sounds great, but it's probably good for like pre-planning type thing. It's not super accurate, Yeah,
at this point. Yeah, but
it's similar. Think about it. If you could prove that concept here in even just a few metro areas,
sure,
that could really take off and be adopted.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be 100%, but it's way better than what we have right now.
Oh
Yes. Yeah. It's similar to what you were saying earlier, Matt, with, it's never going to be worse than it is today. They're only going to develop it. So,
good point.
You understand that.
Yes.
Good point. So how do you, maybe I misheard this, but I could have swore I heard somebody talking the other day about putting a GPR unit on like a drone and flying over.
Yeah, they already do it, right, man?
Is that something that's out there? Is that happening?
So there are companies that can do that. That is not something that we do. We really, there's a lot of different applications for GPR, and ours is really more in this utility infrastructure, concrete. I would say damage prevention is kind of the overarching theme of our business, and with sitemap, damage prevention, and moving into data provision, for the sake of this knowledge of what your campus looks like. We get called into some unique applications occasionally. We've in the history of our company, we found a few murder victims.
Oh my goodness!
Working with, and we were intended, and that's why we were hired. We get a call from the local police department, and we would offer to help. And we didn't say, "Hey, look, there's a body right here."
Yeah.
We would say, "Look, if you believe that there's likely a burial here, this would be a good place to dig first." And we've that's happened a few times, and we've
that's interesting.
So the drone thing you mentioned, Kent, I've heard is in relation to a lot of archaeology, actually.
So interesting. Yeah. Does it work in water?
So yeah, certainly there's the archaeological applications, but the only really use of drones that we get into is if we have a large area that we've worked on to go capture those findings. We'll fly a drone to put a deliverable together for the customer. But we don't do any of the aerial GPR. That's not a service that we're interested in.
Hey there, Geoholics. Let's talk about safety apparel. Born from the lack of quality and functional gear in the safety industry and frustrated to find no other options, Matthew Stansberry has reinvented survey apparel with the highest quality materials and most functional and versatile vest the survey industry has ever seen. They call it the Party Chief. Safety apparel offers ANSI CSA compliant, high visibility survey and construction vest and reflective traffic control gloves, hats, stickers, and patches. With many applied options, including but not limited to silkscreen, sublimation, patches, embroidery, and heat transferred images, they can provide your company with the clothing and art you need to look sharp and professional. Send Matt an email with your needs, and he will do his best to get you headed in the right direction. Look him up, info@safetyapparel.us.
I did see one, it was advertised the other day. It was a drone, and it was flying super low to the ground. You know what I mean? Like a GPR unit would work normally.
Yeah.
But it was because of the terrain was so bumpy and grassy and hard. GPRs are like low-riding lawnmowers, man. It's tough to get them through rough terrain. So,
the antennas most of the antennas that we use have to be actually coupled with the surface. We don't want there to be any air gap between the antenna and the surface. There are a few air-launched antennas, really more for pavement or road analysis. That we don't do a lot of that work, but you can have you can get some data from with a small air gap between the bottom of the antenna and the top of the surface.
So I want to circle back real quick on a question I kind of went through earlier. What makes, see if I can rephrase it, what makes your best technician good? What is it about his skill set that makes him a good GPR technician?
Good question, yeah.
So it starts with the training, obviously. Then comes experience. But I think there's a few characteristics. This is very high attention to detail, patience, right?
Right.
I would say open-mindedness. Some of this work can be pretty tedious. If you're laying out a rebar grid over a large area that's 6-inch on center spacing, that's going to get very tedious. Patience, attention to detail, I think, are two of the characteristics that I would say. And then I think a third would be just a general understanding of construction or of utility design and layout.
Makes sense.
Being able to look at a set of plans and have a sense of what I think when our best project managers, if you were to describe what a concrete slab looks like, hey, we're talking an 8-inch slab with top and bottom steel spaced at 8 inches on center. They'll be able to picture what that data is going to look like in their head as you're describing it. They'll be able to see what that data looks like in their head. And I think the same goes for underground. If they can see, where there's a riser coming up out of the ground, or where they see manhole, they have a sense. Okay, I'm at a hospital. These are not. I'm only going to be looking for standard utilities, but I've also got to think about oxygen lines. So I think a lot of that experience comes with just time spent on site and observation through training. We don't put anybody in the field right away. I mean, there's several months where they're riding along, gaining knowledge, seeing how our senior project managers look at the data, how they put the marks on the surface, but also how they interact and how they communicate, how they walk through at the end of the job and communicate their findings to our customer. So before they go on to do whatever they're going to do, whether it be drill or dig or cut, just so we're all on the same page. Part of that 99.87 accuracy that I talked about comes from that communication. And then I think the last thing I would say is being able to understand what your limitations are, knowing that we can't solve every single problem with the tools at our disposal, but you're going to fall short sometimes of being able to answer every question the customer has, but knowing how to communicate that well and realizing where you fall short.
Man, I am checking a lot of boxes here. This is good to know.
This is good enough, right? Yeah. And I want to springboard. That's a great question. I want to springboard off it just a little bit because I see a lot of similarities between like working the SUE industry and land surveying, to be honest with you, because like, are there any SUE college programs?
There are not.
There are no college programs.
It's not even mentioned as far as I've ever heard. No, I'm not an engineer, so I didn't go to school, but I work with them all day, every day, and I've asked that exact question several times. Yeah. And not only are there not specific programs, they've been talked about kind of in back rooms, but there's not even a day of discussion within any of the disciplines that they learn in school about SUE.
So
they don't even know what it is.
It blows my mind. Yeah. It really does. Yeah. And like, what about certifications? Are there SUE certifications?
They're getting there. They're trying. There are some that aren't really paid that close attention to. There's a few companies out there. Probably the most famous one is, oh gosh, I'm blanking out on it. I don't know. Do you know, Matt? Are you familiar with do you guys ever do the outside trainings for your technicians with utility locating?
Are you talking Ditch Witch?
No, it's not Ditch Witch. I can't believe I'm blanking out. I did it. I have a plaque.
You have a plaque.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean it. Yeah, it's a good program, and I sat through it, and our young technicians learned a lot from it.
Yeah,
they did.
It's not required,
but it's not a certification,
and it's not like it's not. There are standards,
yes,
but they're not necessarily accepted in every state.
Nope, and they're trying to do all that with that new standard. They're trying to get it more. They're really working hard to get it to be more certification and potentially in the future, even education based.
Yep. And SUE's utility, it's not even required.
No.
Right?
Well, and it's getting there, also getting
in
there.
some states, like Colorado.
Colorado, of course,
like
is
that, right?
Apparently a leader in all these revolutionary things.
Yep.
Colorado, I don't know. There's a handful of other ones now that have followed suit.
Yep. It needs to be standardized.
It does. And, the FHWA, bless their heart, has been kind of preaching it, but but hasn't been standardized.
Yeah. It's crazy because it saves so much. It's ultimately saves so much time, so much money.
Yeah.
And for me, it's an easy sell. If I'm talking to somebody about the benefits of it, it's like, how are you not doing this?
Yeah, it's hard with budgets. People, the front end of the budget, they don't like to squeeze that money in, right, Matt? That's probably one of the biggest challenges you guys run into is convincing people to put that money in the beginning because it'll save them on the backside.
I think it used to be one of the biggest challenges, but not anymore. If you look at the ROI on
there you go.
When a customer buys our services, let's say it's $2,000, for our services. What's the cost of one utility strike?
Yep.
Yeah, 10 times that at least.
Oh, yeah, and then you've got it lowers the opportunity for a safety incident. It minimizes the opportunity for lost production due to downtime. Unforeseen, unplanned expense. We look at that ROI. The direct cost it pays for itself, but then you look at the indirect cost, and then not to mention what about the relationship with the owner when they have this probably a change order for this utility damage that they've got to pay for that was not part of the budget. And the damage that takes place with the relationship when an incident like that takes place on site. ROI is pretty huge on the services that we're providing.
Yeah, you're definitely preaching to the choir. I did have another question for you quickly. You mentioned earlier one call stuff. Do you guys ever get into that? Do you ever try and contract with any of the local utilities to help them out?
It's not a business that we seek to get into, but we've acquired a few companies over the last few years that have had some one call business. We've taken those contracts on. We've actually renewed a few, but it's not something I would say it represents probably less than 2% of the total revenue in GPRS today. But there's value there, but I would rather leave that to the companies where that's really kind of their core service, and we stay focused on what's core to us.
That's the right answer again.
Yep, nailed it. This guy knows what he's doing.
I know.
So when you get to 800 people, that's a lot to manage. How do you describe your company culture? I'd like to hear a little bit about that, and just kind of a little bit about your leadership style. Like how would you describe that?
So I'll start with the culture. We have a saying within our company that we want to be the biggest small company that we can be. We want to maintain that family feel. We don't want bureaucracy. We do not want red tape. Before I started GPRS, I worked in a company that had 78,000 employees.
Jeez.
And I saw things that just didn't make any sense at all. I mean, there were rules for the sake of rules and policy for the sake of policy. And I wanted a business where common sense prevailed. If that was my dream. If I ever started a business, common sense was going to be kind of the prevailing law.
Yep.
And as we've grown, we have had to implement more policy. To my chagrin sometimes, but as far as culture goes, being that what does it mean to be the biggest small company that you can be? Really, no tolerance of silos in our business. We have to think about the process from the time the phone rings until the time the check clears from the customer. All departments, every facet of our business has to be integrated and aware of how the other works, how a decision made in one group affects the performance of another group. We have to be cognizant of that. We have a culture. I would say we're pretty competitive. We have a saying, widen the gap, where we've built a considerable lead over competition in terms of size, and I would say also in terms of the performance that our company delivers. And we do not want that gap to close. We want to continue to widen that gap. So be innovative. Don't follow the lead and let someone else, set precedent for how these services are going to be performed, but be proactive enough to think ahead. What's this customer going to want 5 or 6 years down the road, and try to create that system for them today. That's how we arrived at sitemap, like I said earlier. But and then the other thing I think that's unique about GPRS, we open up ownership opportunity to every single employee in the company.
Nice.
So if they want to have a direct equity stake in the business, we open up that opportunity twice a year where someone can write a check and have direct ownership. So as the company continues to grow, their investment will grow in line with the rest of the company.
I love that. That's one of the things that drew me to David Evans, as a matter of fact, employee owned. And that's huge.
It is.
That is huge.
The 2 companies I've worked for in the industry, both. Yep. It's awesome.
Yep. Until someone shows up with private equity and a blank check.
Exactly.
That all changes.
That's true.
we are private equity owned.
Oh, there you go. Yep. See? Yep.
Private equity, they have the majority ownership. We actually have 2 sponsors, right now.
Right on.
But that was part of our ask when we were negotiating with the private equity firm. Was, hey, we want to open up opportunity to each of our employees, and
that's phenomenal. Yeah,
and they said, we think that's a great idea. We are absolutely on board for it.
Good for you. That's huge.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm curious, looking back, my God, it's been quite a ride for you to have grown this company to where it is now. So what are maybe some of the achievements you're most proud of? What's the legacy you want to leave behind?
So I read a book. I'll probably screw up the exact wording years ago, but the book was called Jesus on Leadership. And one of the quotes in the book was, the true test of a leader is, what happens when he's gone. When he's gone, does the company crumble behind him, or does it, continue to thrive, without his presence, without him being there? Is if it does crumble when he leaves, he took the energy out of the business. He sucked the place dry. He didn't build up a team behind him. So that's one of the things that I'm focused on now is, I don't know, how much time I have left at GPRS, but I'm only 46 years old. So I've got a lot of gas in the tank still. But I'm definitely cognizant at some point. I think the other thing that you've got to be aware of as a leader is, what is your capacity, for leadership? At some point, this company is going to grow to the level where it's probably better in someone else's hands as CEO. And I've got to have the self-awareness and the humility to recognize when that is.
Self-awareness and humility goes a long way.
Yeah, I love that quote. I'll remember that.
So on that note, we're about an hour here. Want to be respectful of your time. It's probably past your bedtime there.
No, we're
what's I think you probably touched out there just a little bit, and we asked this question to every one of our guests. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Yeah, there's a few. I think the one that I've really been on right now is what we are capable of. If you really think about the world around us today, it makes it very easy to be average. if you show up on time, if you do what you say you can do, if you answer your phone when it rings, I think you're kind of moving into the above average category.
It's crazy to think about, right? It's crazy.
It really is.
But I think it's true. Sad, but I think it's true.
100%.
And
I agree.
So if you think about, if that's all it takes to be average or above average, what does it take to be great? And what does it take to be elite? And if you can really look inside yourself and you find your why, then it's pretty easy to push yourself. And I don't think you ever fully understand just how much you're really capable of. If you would have asked me even 10 years ago to write down a best case scenario for where GPRS is today, I fall far, far short of where we are. But as we push ourselves and as we continue to grow, I believe our potential grows as well. And that's if people would really look within to understand what they're truly capable of, we'd see incredible things happening.
Yeah. Well said. I love that.
Very well said. I love that too.
Yeah. What else, Matt? Is there anything else you want to get out there before we let you go?
No, I really appreciate this opportunity. I enjoyed talking with you, Joe, and Kent, and really grateful for the opportunity to create some awareness around
definitely
this service. And
definitely
the value it brings. Certainly appreciate it.
Well, it's definitely interesting. And as we move into the future and the things we kind of touched on with new technologies and, just scratching the surface with things like sitemap,
no pun intended.
Nice. Truly not intended at all. It's going to be fun and wild and crazy.
Yeah.
And I look, I'll be paying more attention to GPRS in the future. That's for sure.
100%. What else?
My mantra, the only thing I can think of, I know you didn't ask, but I'm going to get.
I was going to. Yep.
That's more of a quote that I love. And it's what people say about you behind your back is none of your damn business.
Nor should it be. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Oh, man, that's awesome. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate you being here, Matt. Thank you, Joe, for being here.
My pleasure.
It was somewhat last minute, but I appreciate you filling in for producer Sean, producer Joe this evening.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a producer I am. I just kind of sat here and laughed at you.
Hey,
I think
you kept me calm before the show. But stick around afterwards real quick, all right, if you got a few minutes. All right, so there we go. Adding value and making friends, as always. That's a little loud. If anyone would like to be a guest at a future show, if you have any guest suggestions, shoot us an email at info@thegeoholics.com. What else? Kid Rock, ISM Online, available everywhere. Until next time, everybody. Well, I think I'll put my notes up here from the show, the highlights. Let common sense prevail. Widen the gap when it comes to your competition. Don't be average. And find your why. Most importantly, be safe and healthy, everybody.
Take care. Sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow. Singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long.